Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him stand. All they wanna say. Let him name your traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him stand. All they wanna say. Let him name your traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let I be me instead of playing games. For chasing fame, let somebody sweat the lack of flames. No, living my life to the fullest and shout out my halala to the fullest. Let my lungs out. I'm still rising up to greater heights as long as
Hello, bonjour, Sanbonani. Welcome to Rise to Greater Heights Network, where you can turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. It is so significant to have a positive mindset, more especially under these circumstances. So this network has the potential to completely revolutionize every aspect of your life and career. My name is Dr. Riel Nkunene, and I'm going to be your host for today. So if you're watching us online, please feel free to put in the chat box where you're watching us from and what you hope to achieve from our podcast. Today, we are surrounded by greatness in the World Wide Web. We have amazing speakers who's going to share some nuggets on human rights. So in England, we have Christiane Herbert. And in California, we have Neelam Rai. So at this moment, I'll just let our speakers to introduce themselves. You can go ahead, Christiane.
Hi, everybody, and thank you, Riel, for having me. I feel very honored. I'm a Pilates instructor and a life coach and mentor. I live since 2 years in the UK, have lived 36 years in South Africa, and 21 years in Germany, where I grew up there. Now you can do the math. And so I have 4 children. One son lives in Australia, and 3 girls are living here in the UK. And so I'm trying to establish myself here again and leave all my baggage behind. And what I tell you about this later.
Wow. It's such a great honor to have you, Christiane, and I'm looking forward to hear more of your message. You can go ahead, Dr. Neelam, and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. And well, I'm originally born and raised in Fiji Islands. If you have, drank Fiji water, one of the best. That's the country that I was born and raised, a country of less than 1 million population. And that's a little fun fact. And so I come from a family, a very diverse family, a spiritual side from dad's side, mom's side, very scientific. And, in healthcare professionals. So growing up, I saw a disparity between both, extreme sides of the cultures. So my, goal is to bridge the gap between spirituality and science and success. It is your birthright. It is our birthright to be happy and to be prosperous. And one of the ways that I am bringing all of this integration is from my 20 years of background in healthcare and corporate financial career, and also as a fifth generation spiritual teacher and healer. So mixing the, the best of, spirituality in a practical way that we can apply in our everyday life to overcome the fears, to overcome all the business struggles that people don't see us, because I'm a busy mother of 3, and also a warrior of incurable autoimmune disorders. So I know what it takes to show up, and I'm here to share you all the tools in a very simplified way that you can apply just 10 minutes a day and transform your life and your business. And excited to be here with you, all of you.
Oh, wow, Dr. Nilam, you are just a jack of all trades. Jack of all trades, excuse me. It's such a great honor to have you on this platform, and I'm looking forward to hear more of your message. So, Christiane, I have a question for you. If you happen to have your own billboard, I can see your billboard coming down there. I don't know, maybe is it going to be in Germany? Is it going to be in England? Is it going to be in South Africa? Just the way like Dr. Nilam is. What will your billboard say if you happen to have your own billboard?
Look in the mirror and love yourself. I think that is the most important thought you should actually have, because you cannot love anybody else if you don't love yourself.
Wow.
And I had to learn that the hard way, and I'll tell you about that later. But I think if I can give that message out to everybody, look in the mirror at least once a day and tell yourself you love yourself. It will make an enormous difference.
I love it. I love it. Look in the mirror and tell yourself, I love you. I love you, because no one else, if you can start practicing it right now, no one will say it to you. First, love yourself before you go out there and love the world. Wow, I love it. I love it. How about you, Dr. Nilam? Maybe your billboard is already down there in California, or maybe it's coming in Fiji. I don't know. What will your billboard say?
Oh my God, I have so many ideas, but I think the first thing, I was going to say self-love too. Self-love is self-mastery, which also comes from discipline. But I would say calmness. Calmness is mastery.
Calmness is mastery. Wow, I love it. Actually, both of the billboard, they are connecting to self-worth. Just know who you are. Just love yourself. Just, stand by yourself. Stand by your side. I love it. I love it. So I believe mine will be the third billboard driving down the highway, and it's going to say what? The sky is no longer the limit. The sky is no longer the limit, but the sky is now our point of view. So what we'll have to do, we'll have to rise to greater heights. Once we're up there, we can view what we want in life and just leave what we don't want. So it's definitely coming. It's definitely coming. So at this moment, I know when we speak of human rights, when we speak of domestic violence, when you speak of healing, it's quite a sensitive subject that we will have to cover on this platform. So here at Rise to Greater Heights Network, we're just here to provide information about human rights to the public. So that's our disclaimer. We're here to provide human rights information to the public. Legal information is not the same as legal advice as to the application of law to an individual's specific circumstances. So we cannot offer any legal advice in response to specific questions. So we strongly recommend that you consult a lawyer if you need such help. So we're gonna get started. We're flying from Canada to England, where we have Christiane Abbott. Christiane Abbott is a holistic Pilates instructor and life coach with a special interest in helping women as they traverse the perimenopausal and menopausal stages in their lives. She works with your body and mind to build strength and agility so that you can embark on new adventures with excitement and the ability to overcome challenges. So Christiane also works with companies, keeping their employees' mental health healthy and helping them to be productive and balanced, consequently increasing their productivity. So kings and queens, please join me and welcome Christiane Ebbe. We can't hear you. And you're not muted. We still can't hear you. Did you mute your computer by any chance?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, we can hear you now.
So the headphones away. Right, good. That's much better. And yeah, I always think it's such a sad, always thought it is such a sad subject, domestic violence, but I actually reframe that now because it is sad, but there are lots of other things being said about it, but at least we can do something about it by speaking now finally up about it, because for a long time, it was such a stigma attached to emotional and domestic violence that men and women, there's a high percentage in the UK, I'm not too sure about the US, also on men recovering and undergoing domestic violence. Now, how many of you are domestic violence survivors or actually are living with that on a daily basis? I'm sure a few of you are, if not quite a lot, but also if a lot of you know somebody who is maybe, or at least you think that they might be going through that difficult path. What is emotional and domestic violence? So domestic violence is gaslighting, financial control, generally life control, a narcissistic relationship. So this is everything which doesn't show the scars to the outside, which makes it so difficult for people to pinpoint, and also for, you can't, I mean, if I walked and taught a gym class and I had a black and blue face, then people were asking me what happened to me. I could lie about it and I could say I flew against the cupboard or something like this. But the emotional scars which were there, the daily anxiety, the fear, the terror, that was to be shown, because we're actually, I think in women in general, we are very good at masking things, and we should all get an actor's degree. But we are fantastic actors if we are in a relationship which is narcissistic or abusive, or where we need to show up and we are not quite sure if we can face the music. And so I want to tell you a little bit about my own life. If I look back on my life, I would say, and please excuse me, I've written it down because I had to keep it short and not a 2-hour speech. If I look back on my life, I would say that it was designed in such a way that I now have the vast reservoir of knowledge from which to assist you. And that is actually really, really important for me, because I don't see it as a baggage. I see it now. I feel a little bit like Mary Poppins with her suitcase, and she pulls all the things out of there. And that's all the wisdom and all the experience I had throughout the time. One of my nursing teachers, when I done my nursing training in Germany, said, you can't understand what your patient is feeling if you haven't felt it yourself. And that was probably one of the most, at that stage, I didn't think it was great because we had to stab each other and all sorts of things, but it was probably one of the best sentences somebody said to me. And emotional abuse began very early in my life. And even if it was unintentional, it set the course for the rest of my life. Being a teenage mother while studying for my German Abitur, A-level, and a nursing degree forced me to mature quickly. I definitely didn't have any teenage years, and went through definitely lost a certain phase in my life, which is very important for young men as well. But it's very important that we're going through them so that we can show up balanced in later life. We have to experiment. We have to find things out. We moved from South Africa as a family of 3 and expanded to a family of 4 and then a family of 5. My dream of having a large, happy family quickly dashed out by adultery, alcoholism, and by my husband marrying my best friend. I was the perfect subject for my next husband's physical and emotional abuse for 6 years. I just didn't know how to get out of there. I needed somebody who the manipulation which went on in the relationship was so big that I was almost like a little puppet, and the strings were pulled with all sorts of manipulating words, fists, everything. And it nearly killed me, but I have a strong survival. I'm quite stubborn. And my previously mentioned best friend, encouraged, and try not to speak German, husband to take my children and live with them. It's a day I never forget. It was probably one of the worst days of my life. And suddenly I was a weekend mother, and there was a lot of abuse from that side and backstabbing and so on. Can you see the pattern? There's something in it which, and it stemmed actually already from being a child, because my mom and dad had a very violent relationship, both emotionally and domestic, because my dad had always had an affair, always the same woman, and he had lived actually a double life, which he didn't really hide in front of us children, which was heartbreaking. I was in my 3rd relationship when I discovered my partner was a binge alcoholic, but we had a lovely little girl who's now 17 years old and is now actually working happily for a big racing company. My intense sense of loyalty and duty taught my many years of extreme limiting beliefs forced me to stay. Now, loyalty and duty are something which we all thought is a great belief system, it's a great value, but at the right time, at the right place, and at the right time. And we as women and men, I always have to say this as men as well, we have to be encouraged to learn that we don't need to be forced to undergo treatment what we don't like. We don't have to say yes, say yes. I'm a recovering people pleaser. I always say that because I grew up to please people so that they love me. My mother was so finished with everything that what was going on that she definitely didn't have the emotional capacity to love me enough or even give out hugs or sing with us or anything like this. I learned that later because I went through the same thing, and there's the pattern. I left with my 17-year-old when she was 5 years old because it was just too much for me. I couldn't cope with the anxiety anymore and was on anti-anxiety and antidepressant medication. It would have been ideal because I had moved in with a friend of mine. I mean, 2 mothers with children of similar ages. How wonderful. And here it comes that it is not only men who domestically or emotionally abuse. I mean, nonetheless, she requested that I change my sexual orientation, and while I respect everyone's sexual orientation, I was content with my current one. So if you want to live with me, change your sexual orientation, otherwise move out. I decided, it took me again a year to move out and finally stand on my own feet. We moved into our own apartment, and it was the first time in my life that I actually was standing on my own feet. How I was coping during that period, I didn't cope very well until I had my own place with my little girl and free access to my now grown-up older children. For decades, I suffered from anxiety, depression, anorexia, bulimia, as well as PTSD, and never mind a total loss of self-confidence and self-esteem. But how did I get out of it? What helped me to actually stand up on my own feet? Because it's pretty terrifying if you're suddenly on your own and you're supposed to have it already, and you were indoctrinated for the last, 30 years that you are nobody and nothing. You should be living in the gutters. You will never accomplish anything. and so on. You were labeled as not going forward. And also at the same time, having children and not trying to bring that guilt, what you're feeling, onto your children. So I found that very hard. I met a friend, and she said to me very strictly, and I do this with my client now as well. She says, you don't need a friend, you need a coach, you need a life coach. And we sat together and we worked hard. I had to look at my own story repeatedly, but not my story as in what I just told you now, but the story I was telling myself every single day, because I did not look into the mirror and say, I love you, more the opposite. I couldn't stand what was in the other side of the mirror because I was ashamed of that person. I felt guilty. And I honestly believed I was not able to build up a successful business and to feed myself and my daughter. And so I had to work through that every single day, journaling every single day, meditation every single day, writing down what I want my day to look like. And I don't know how many times I wrote down, how does my perfect day look like? How does my life look like in 1 year, in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years? And it changed all the time. I never was somebody for journaling. I was more a disaster in it. I was more moaning in my journals than actually getting something good out of them. And finally, I got the drift of it, what it meant to journal and actually bring what's inside your head onto a piece of paper, preferably with handwriting, and really get the stuff out of your brain, so it's actually not torturing you every single day anymore. And and now I'm Pilates. Pilates probably saved my life. I always love to go into the gym and so on, but Pilates, the connection between the body and the mind. And I made Pilates my own. I've got 30 years of experience in it now. I teach everything via Zoom. And so it's for the person. I always make it bespoke for the person. What does the person need to get out of it? Do they need to be in love with their body? Do they need to feel strong? Do they feel you just need to be relaxed and today? So yeah, Pilates helped me a great deal so that I can now sit here with you, which I've never thought that I would ever speak in front of people and talk to somebody about what happened to me. You are on mute.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Christiane, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much. Like, you've mentioned that the emotional abuse actually in your life, it began very, very early in your life. And even if it wasn't unintentional, it kind of set the course for the rest of your life. You've mentioned that you had that amazing dream of having a large family, but that dream, it was quickly dashed with adultery, alcoholism, and then your husband marrying your best friend. Wow, this is really, really depressing. This is really, really heartbreaking. And you've mentioned that you were kind of a perfect subject for your next husband's physical and emotional abuse for 6 years. That nearly killed you. And for decades, you've suffered from anxiety, you've suffered from depression. Like, the list goes on and on. Someone out there watching, they might be going through the same, almost similar situation that you went through. And thank you for speaking up, because you've just encouraged that one person who is actually undergoing that stage. Because we'll have to understand that, abuse is a cycle, much like the cycle of addiction. Abuse is a cycle at the same time. Emotional or physical abuse, it can be repeated over and over again. It can be perpetuated. So thank you so much, Christiane, for sharing such a profound message around domestic violence. I hope someone out there who just needs this inspiration, this encouragement, is going to be able to take the first step, and is going to be able to reach out to you. Thank you so much, Christiane, for sharing your message. So now we are coming back from England. We're coming back to the US where we have Dr. Neelam Rai. Ray or Rai?
Right.
Rai, yeah, Dr. Neelam Rai. She's an expert in energy medicine and business growth. She has an enormous passion for giving people the tools to take back their life and their power. So her goal is to help people to lead prosperous lives, and that's to match spirituality with business and science. So Dr. Rai's biggest fear or success barrier was speaking her truth in her corporate career. So as a financial analyst, she managed $100 million for a prominent healthcare corporation. During this time, her life radically changed when she was diagnosed with an incurable autoimmune disorder and high-risk pregnancy. So combining alternative medicine, metaphysics, and advanced spiritual tools, she regained her health and delivered a miracle baby. And today she is a researcher on various healing modalities for rapid results and what works minus complexities. She's saying that sometimes these pains and frustrations are being a blessing in disguise. So without the wounds, the light can't enter. So this divine light opens new possibilities to enjoy life. Kings and queens, please join me and welcome Dr. Neelam Rai.
Wow. You made it sound like, oh my goodness. I can, each word that you said, hearing from you is like reliving through those sentences, through each of the decades and years. And I just want to tell each one of the listeners here that you are, you're so powerful beyond your wildest imagination, and I came from a beautiful, very close and traditional family, Indian family, raised in an island. So we had a diverse culture of islanders, the Indian culture, and of course, all of the, healing modalities. We're talking about meditation, music therapy, sound therapy, and spirituality, and all the sacred texts. I grew up on all of those things. Yet, like I said, spirituality is great, but was it grounded in my family? People are so high and mighty in the spiritual communities, but they don't want to, integrate the wisdom they're talking just in the sacred circles. I guess sometimes it becomes so redundant that you're just repeating all the sacred texts and verses, but are they really applying this into your lives? So I come from generations of spiritual teachers and healers, and I found there was a disconnection between what people were teaching versus what they were, applying in their own families, in their own life. And this happened in my own family too. My dad being one of the most respected teachers in his small town, everybody wanted him, but he never had the time for us. So I didn't come from any, of physical abuse from a family, or, any kind of mental abuse, but there was this stigma that if you are a leader, you're supposed, as a daughter, I'm supposed to be an example of my father. I had to make sure, my standards are high. I'm an example. At age just 12 or 13, I was expected to be beyond my age because daddy is the respected teacher and leader. And my mom, raising 4 kids, and all the people who would come to our house should be always constantly be in the kitchen cooking and doing stuff for others, because our house was like a little temple and church for people to come in. So while, what I'm trying to share is that in this process, I saw my mom neglecting her self-care. I saw my dad neglecting self-care because they were overgivers. Open, there was no boundaries. Anybody could come anytime. And, the kitchen was open. Anybody could come. And my mom is constantly cooking and cleaning. And she never had time. Sometimes she remembers, for us, putting a pillow next to us with the bottle because she didn't have time to feed the bottle to us because she was always on demand and, living with her extended family. What I'm saying is that because of this early childhood demand to grow faster, I put it on myself that I had to always excel because I didn't want it to be looked down. I didn't want to put the family's name down because if I do any single mistakes, everybody in that small community will come to know, the uncles and cousins, everybody were like bodyguards. So I was really raised in a very close-knit family, but then it's like you have bodyguards around you. In school, I was not supposed to date, or if I would, we had this beautiful porch, countryside porch in front of our house. If we would sit in the front and if there is a handsome, teenager passing by, everybody will be looking at you as if, am I on a move? Is this girl being disrespectful? So what I'm trying to say here is that you can come from a very, very spiritual, cultured family, but then underneath it, there could be so much pressure for this young people's mind. And that it might not affect the child right there and then, but later on, you start picking up all of these things that the society expects from you, that you always have to be at your, best. And I think it took me a while to understand that because I felt like being the firstborn, being the daughter of a respected teacher leader, I had to always be at the best. Anything less of me was not acceptable. So the pressure I put on myself years down the road, yes, it led me, I would call this American transformation. You come in a country, you check mark everything within the first 6 years of life. Check mark, you have your you graduate with honors. Check mark, you got your first house at age 25. Check mark, oh, you get your master's now. Check mark, now you got married to your soulmate. Check mark, and now you want to have a baby under 35. So, to the world, I am like living the best life as an immigrant. I have everything going on great, but the pressure I put on myself, because of that childhood expectations. And then the expectations from society, because the family we came from, my mom and dad were the only family people who didn't graduate college because of their circumstances out of all their siblings. So my mom always had this shame about not being educated. So she put too much emphasis on us to make sure no matter what you do, stand on your feet. So what I'm trying to share here is sometimes the parent expectations passes down on the kids. And in the process, the kid, no matter how good you will do, you're never good enough. So I felt like I was never good enough. And when I went on these corporate careers, I put so much pressure on myself. I was the youngest person. I was called the cash queen in the healthcare, one of the prominent healthcares here in California. People used to laugh at me because, oh my goodness, you're so vibrant. You should be a psychologist. What are you doing in finance department? And, but I was like, I could talk to numbers. It was great. I was good with people. I love people and also people pleasing. I wanted to do the best of my abilities. And soon enough, after I got married, life changed. More responsibilities. Comes baby number one. My body, my life changes. All the pressure, all of the stresses of good 25 years of abusing my body, of not resting, not eating well, being healthy all of my life. All of a sudden, I'm diagnosed with incurable, autoimmune disorders. And there was no cure. I went through many, many doctors. And I worked in a very prominent hospital where I had access to 400 doctors. No one had a solution for me. I was like a guinea pig. You try this medication, you try that, this, that. And that's where, this beautiful retired teacher, a doctor who turned into a spiritual healer, was teaching Know Your Mind, Body, and Soul. She was teaching angelic Reiki, and she was doing this volunteer teachings to the nurses in the hospital, and then to all the cancer patients. So I started seeing the first-hand difference from this gentle soul who just touch, the patients, the admins, and just give them, she says, I'm just transferring love and relaxation energy to you guys. In that moment, I felt like I needed this. And remember, you asked me what would be my billboard? Calmness is mastery. So to the world, I was calm, but internally, I was like a mess. I had this internal war going on, the push and pull to be the best all the time, to always, do it for others instead of what is that I want. So the sickness, really, hitting rock bottom, called me to my highest callings. What am I here to do? And seeing firsthand experience of the cost of healthcare, that was breaking my heart every day. There was nothing I could do. I remember there was a priest, in the chapel for the hospital. I would ask him, I'm sure I'm meant to do more. I'm behind the scenes. It's $1 billion revenue. I'm balancing financial statements every day. I'm very good at it, but I think I'm meant to do more than this. I kept asking this for 7 years. 7 years, I kept asking, I was the youngest. I forgot to tell you, in my position, nobody stayed more than 6 months. It was such a demanding and challenging job. So I come here as a young, bubbly person, newly married, in love, full of ideas, full of, this excitement to share love in the business world, connection. I was a people, connecting person. Immediately, I made friends with all the departments and everybody. That my manager didn't like. I got reprimanded for being too nice and too kind. And I couldn't understand. I said, I'm doing my job well. So I was criticized for being nice. I was criticized she goes, I think you're not meant to be, be in this finance department. You're meant to be a social worker. And I said, maybe God is telling me something better. I know I'm, bumbling here, but what I meant to say is that asking the right question, what am I meant to do? Is there more to life? And in your heart, you always know there is something more. Unless you ask, God and our guides and angels, they're all standing by. Unless we ask, they cannot intervene. That's the free will they have. And when I started asking the question, like I said, this teacher appeared in my life. She came through knocking in my finance office looking for me. She goes, I saw this lovely young face and we wanted to talk to her. And she says, would you like to join us in our volunteer work? Because we feel your energy. You're meant to do something. And she asked me this one question. She says, what are you doing in a red zone? The finance, is very black and white and very, boxed. She goes, you're not fit for this. In a good way, she said, because I can see she was a psychic teacher and, retired doctor, but she had all the spiritual gifts to see, the qualities. So I had this wonderful person. I thought, she's insane. What is she talking about? But then I did respond. I said, I'm in this red zone because I'm here to provide love and healings to the business world. And without thinking, I just said it. It just came out. Today I'm wearing green because green is love and healing. And if you are in a hospital, you'll see green curtains. It's meant to heal, right? So my healing started because this right teacher mentor came into my life. And then from there, 15 years, fast forward, I'm teaching everybody now the tools to help yourself to reconnect to who you're meant to be, to heal yourself, to release the fear of being your authentic self, living in alignment to your, highest callings. Like I'm meant to be, those, bring the generations of spiritual, healing tools and the, and then the last 18, 20 years of financial expertise to bridge the gap, that we can be successful, we can be spiritual, so we can ground our energies every day as busy leaders. So we can release all those expectations. Letting go was my big mantra. Letting go of what society wanted from me. Letting go of what my mom and dad wanted from me. You know, they say, oh, you are all this great person. What are you going to do? You know, you should be just continue to do this. When I started my business, they were like, oh, forget about doing this. Why are we going to do this, you know, integration of spiritual healing? People will think it's too woo-woo. That doesn't sound good to you. And I said, woo is just something made up word. 5 generations of people, nobody ever called them woo-woo. They were change makers. So here I am proposing, because I listened to my colleagues, because of the stress related, all these diseases that came into my life, I had to take an honest look into myself. Sometimes the life looks so good from outside that somebody has it all. She has a perfect life. You don't know the battle that person is going through internally. So be kind to yourself and be kind to others. I think my bigger message is here is that when a student is ready, a teacher appears in your life.
Wow. Dr. Neelam, oh my goodness, thank you. Thank you so much. You see now, self-care, it should be a priority to all of us. You've mentioned how your parents raised you and the expectations from your family, the expectations from the society that you lived in. And your parents ended up not having their time just to take care of themselves because they were so giving. That like their doors are always open. Okay, come in. They never had time for themselves. But then you decided, you were like, you know what? It's high time I change this. It's high time I change this. Kind of you kind of preach between the gap between science and spirituality, because from your dad side that you've mentioned that they are more spiritual, and from your mom's side they were more of science believers. So like it just brought you to be the person that you are today. You are trying by all means to share your wisdom, your knowledge on actually self-care, healing, and the way the universe works. It just brings the right person at the right time in your life. When you're telling us about your journey to your healing, it's really, really mind-blowing on how you actually healed. And then you were like, after being healed, let me discover this. Now you're a researcher, now you're doing this. Thank you so much, Dr. Neelam, for such a profound, much needed message. I can see our viewers online. I can see the love that they are giving us. I can see it. Oh my goodness. I believe they've been really inspired. They've been motivated from all of your messages, and they will definitely reach out to both of you because they need, they need this, the accountability partner. That's what we need in life in order for us to go far in life. So I believe our audience will reach out to both of you. So I'm gonna be the next speaker. It's not gonna be a show without me showing up. So I'm gonna be the next speaker, but before I speak, let me share my bio. So please enjoy. I will come back and speak. I want you, as you think about your dreams and goals, to put this down. Rise to greater heights. Rise to greater heights, because you need to be clear about your career goals in order for you to gain guidance on professional development. Really, my goal as a mentor or as a coach, it's so simple. My goal is to study your current situation, identify limiting beliefs and other potential obstacles that you might be facing, and then design a plan of inspired action to empower you to pursue success and drive sustainable. I think whosoever said that the sky is the limit was wrong. From today on, I, Dr. Riel and Kunene, believe that the sky is our point of view. Mom. So I think whosoever said that the sky is the limit was wrong. From today on, I, Dr. Riel and Kunene, believe that the sky is our point of view. So let's all rise to greater heights. Of view. So let's all rise to greater heights. Rise to greater heights.
Dr. Nampumelelo Rial Kunene is an international human rights policy analyst who consults on policies and procedures related to human rights compliance. She is a highly sought-after, energetic, certified Lace Brown international speaker. This passionate leader holds a PhD with a discipline in leadership and business. Dr. Rial N. Kunene is the author and host to Rise to Greater Heights, a book and YouTube channel to turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. She is also a coach, mentor, and an MC, well known for encouraging many to rise from mediocrity into greatness. Her vision is not only to motivate, but also to empower audiences with a fresh perspective inspiration they require to pursue success and drive sustainable outcomes. In a seriously funny way, Dr. Kunene is an award-winning author, 10 times #1 Amazon and international best-selling author. Her #1 best-selling book, Rise to Greater Heights, has inspired and empowered many to pursue their personal and professional passion to become go-getters. As a trainer, diplomacy protocol officer, and strategist, Rial believes that we are in full control of our choices. Her mission is to meet the needs and transform lives of her clients and her audience. She is also a true advocate for creating new policies that uphold human rights and prevent human rights violations. Dr. Kunene's purpose is to teach everyone about human rights and help organizations understand and promote human rights. Her goal is to study your current situation, identify limiting beliefs, then design a plan of inspired action to empower you to achieve specific outcomes in your life. This change maker, trailblazer, and revolutionary is pushing boundaries and creating a real change worldwide. Like a phoenix that never accepted defeat and rose from its own ashes, she wants to challenge you to unleash your greatness and rise to greater heights. Dr. Rial N. Kunene wears many hats. As a professional certified sales manager, CEO, certified travel counselor, publisher, medical esthetician, philanthropist, and a commissioner for oaths, following her dreams gave her purpose to see her goals through and understand that she does have everything she needs to reach her full potential. Her everyday message is that your journey to be a better person starts with you. So knowing who you are to your core will make you understand that you are the only one who can accomplish your dreams. Hebrews 11, Psalms 27 and 40 keeps her to rise to greater heights. The sky is no longer the limit, but now the sky is our point of view. So let's all rise to greater heights. Kings and queens, please join me. Welcome, Dr. Rial N. Kunene.
Wow, thank you so much, amazing speakers. You know, you've really set the bar high for me. I was like, Christiane, she shared everything around domestic violence, around emotional abuse. She mentioned that through her life, emotional abuse actually began at a very, very early stage in her life, which kind of made her to be a victim through all these abuses that she's going through. And then Dr. Nilam on the other side, she was like, you need to actually heal, you need to grow, live and manifest your best life ever. And I believe Sierra, she's gonna share more nuggets on the physical aspect of abuse, really. So I'm like, what else is left for me? So let me just cover human rights. Let me just cover human rights so that the world out there will definitely know when we talk of human rights, what do we talk about really? So what comes into your mind when you hear the word human rights? It's going to be more engaging. So I just want to see in the chat box what comes into your mind when you hear the word human rights, because human rights are the fundamental rights and freedoms that are inherent to all human beings, regardless of your gender, nationality, place of residence, sex, ethnicity, religion, or even your skin color. So human rights are not just about the law. So human rights are non-discriminatory, meaning that all human beings are entitled to them, and you can never, ever be excluded from your own human rights. Good people, you really don't have to see the whole staircase in life to get to the top, but you'll have to take the first step to get to the top. As my mentor always say, that you don't have to be great to get started, but you'll have to get started to become great in life. So get started, become great in life by getting started, not by becoming great in life. As my everyday book says, that you'll have to learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, and plead the widow's cause. So get started today, learn to do good, seek justice, and correct oppression wherever it's needed. Because I believe that we all have a voice, but not everyone knows how to use their voice. So as an advocate for human rights, I usually encourage change makers and educate them on the issues at hand before I start calling out issues so that their voices can be heard too. So I work with individuals in charge, listening very closely before calling out issues that need change. And I serve not just as a vocal protester, but I just go one step further by encouraging change through education instead of like merely telling government leaders why something needs fixing, which happens quite frequently, really. So I'm gonna ask you to write this down. You'll have to look for signs. Try and look for signs if you live, if you are in a marriage, if you're in a relationship with a narcissist. Signs to watch if you live with a narcissist within your family. So for those of you who don't know a narcissist is an extremely, if I say extremely, I mean it, extremely self-centered person who has an exaggerated sense of self-importance. So individuals who have like a kind of a narcissistic personality believe that they are always superior than anyone else and they are unique compared to others. So we'll have to look for signs that you could be married to a narcissist, that you could be living with a narcissist inside your family, inside your house. So the first sign that you'll have to look for this sign, for the fact that they have a few or no friends or long-term friends at all. That's a sign that you might be paying attention on. And a narcissist, they usually lack empathy and they can never ever compliment you. And they always think that they are always right, and everything that they are doing, they are always right. And most of the time, they often gaslight you. So gaslighting is a form of manipulation where the manipulator is trying to get you to question your own reality, or maybe your memory or your perceptions. So a narcissist will always like to hog the conversation. So they love to constantly talk about their own accomplishments. If you share maybe something about yourself, and they talk about their achievements with grandiose, really. They do this because, you know, they feel better and they feel like they're smarter than anyone else. And also because it helps them to create or maybe to appear like they are self-assured before you. So you'll have to look for these signs if you are surrounded by a narcissist in your life, because narcissists will often exaggerate their own accomplishments, and they will embellish their talents in their stories in order to gain adoration from others. They are also too busy talking about themselves than to listen to you. First, your partner won't stop talking about themselves. And second, your partner won't engage in any conversation about you. So if you want to put this on a test, consider asking these questions. What happens when you start talking about yourself? Do they ask a follow-up question and maybe express like interest to learn more about you? Or maybe they just make it all about themselves? So good people, please watch for this sign to see if you are in a relationship with a narcissist, if you live with a narcissist, if you are married to a narcissist in that family. At the end of the day, you'll have to heal. You'll have to heal from all these abuses that we've been talking about. You'll have to heal from abuse. The first thing that will lead you to your healing is that you seek professional help. Seek professional help. Just tell yourself the truth. Denial is a hallmark of abuse, so seek professional guidance, because there is no one-size-fits-all prescription for healing. You need a trained professional to assess your situation and your safety, to kind of help you to deal with your emotional baggage from the past and to help you to develop a strategy for change. So seek professional help. Seek professional help, good people. Try by all means to speak up. You also have to find and maintain healthy relationships. It is critical to seek support from your friends, from your family, and ideally your community that you live in. Always be willing to reach out to your family, to your community for support. But remember that, you know, in your community, they might not have all the same training that professional counselors do have. So yes, you can reach out to your community. They can do the referral for you. But at the end of the day, you'll have to seek professional help. So it's a wake-up call with good people. It's a wake-up call to go out there and seek help. But when that alarm clock goes off, please, 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 don't ever hit the snooze button. Don't be like, I will wake up in the next 2 minutes. I will wake up in the next 4 minutes. You know what? Forever is a long time. Why don't you wake up, get going, and seek professional help and get familiar with human rights, because you'll have to learn about your human rights so that you will know when your human rights have been violated. So our organization fill a critical role in society by providing valuable services that governments may not always be able to deliver. From poverty relief to human rights advocacy, we are vital for supporting the most vulnerable members on our communities. So we are an integral part of society, and we're involved globally in human rights, climate change, as well as humanitarian aid, because there are many ways in which we need to persuade governments to adopt human rights related legislation. So some of them, they include by providing information for the general public through exhibits, through side events and formal speeches, or even through lobbying officials during meetings or maybe negotiations. We need to go out there and be the voice for the voiceless, because as flight attendants always say, that put on your oxygen mask first before you go out there and help the next person who is sitting next to you. Because if you don't, you and the other person you're trying to help could possibly go down. So it's high time to put on that oxygen mask first to yourself. Gain this knowledge about domestic violence, about healing, about human rights, so that you will go out there and be the change that we want to see in this world. Because the reality is, your journey to be a better person, it starts with you. Trust me, it doesn't start with your children. It doesn't start with your spouse. It doesn't start with your family. The reality to be a better person starts with you. So knowing who you are to your core, it will make you understand that you have everything around you to reach your full potential. So don't ever, ever give up on your heart's desires. Just recall this just in case you can't find your way out. You can have the drive within you to become what you really want in life. Can you say this after me? Because I am a firm believer of affirmations. If you can just place your left hand on your chest and raise your right hand and say that I can have the drive within me to become what I really want in life. Can you say it one more time as if you have faith in your own powerful voice? And guess what? It will echo throughout the whole universe. Say, I can have the drive within me to become what I really want in life. Yes, you can have that drive within you. Just give yourself a round of applause, because you can have the drive within you to get where you want to be in 6 months, to become what you really want in life. The drive is just within you. It's not outside of you. So just give yourself that round of applause, because it's inside of you. You can do it. You've got this. You can speak up against domestic violence. You can speak up against any violations that you experience in your life, because the drive is inside of you. You know, it's so funny how my mom and dad gave me this beautiful, beautiful name, Nompumelelo. I know many, when they try to say my name, they always butcher my name, but Nompumelelo, really, Nompumelelo in my own language, it means mother of all success. So you can see that I am really, really challenged to chase after success. No matter what comes my way, I'll have to chase after success. So if I may ask you, how many of you have dreams and goals that you want to achieve? Maybe let me say in the next 6 months. I want you, as you think about your dreams and goals, to put this down. Rise to greater heights. rise to greater heights, because you need to be clear about your career goals in order for you to gain guidance on professional development. So as a coach or as a mentor, like many of us here, my goal is so simple. My goal is to study your current situation, identify limiting beliefs and other potential obstacles that you might be facing, and then design a plan of inspired action to empower you to achieve specific outcomes in your life. Really, as a human rights analyst, my purpose is just to teach everyone about human rights and help as many organizations to understand and promote human rights. So I also make a difference by bringing solutions and educating others, because you'll have to remember that a right is a freedom of some kind. It doesn't matter where you're born or what kind of family you're born into. We all have the internal recognition of the moral quality of one's motives and actions. So it was Nelson Mandela who once said, to deny people their human rights is to challenge their very humanity. Trust me, this message, it really states something within me. I am a true advocate for creating new policies that uphold human rights and prevent human rights violations from even happening in the first place. So what I do, I consult on policies and procedures related to human rights compliance, and I advise on best practices for implementing human rights programs. I can also assist with audits as well of operations against any international standards. So what I do research and help draft human rights related policies on discrimination at work, for example, harassment at work, diversity and inclusion, patients' rights, women's rights, and many more human rights related policies, because I have a duty of raising awareness of people's rights and providing solutions, because I believe that an essential thing in human rights is based on the principle of respect for the individual, because each and every person deserves respect, no matter what they are, what they do, or who they are. Really, you'll have to respect that individual. So I so wish that you can just tell yourself that, you know what, it's high time I go out there and be the change and make a difference and be the voice for the voiceless. But in order for you to go out there, be the change, make a difference, you've got to be hungry. You've got to be hungry like the hungry lion in the jungle. Really, that hungry lion in the jungle, it doesn't matter what kind of animal comes his way. It doesn't matter if you're the giant elephant or that small squirrel by the jungle. All that hungry lion sees in front of his face is lunch. And it's so funny because even with elephants, when they see a lion, what they do is that they run. It's all about the mindset. Once you believe, you become. They already told themselves that, you know what, I am a lunch to that lion. So when I say lion, I'll have to run. I believe that's the lion mindset that we need in order for us to be the voice for the voiceless, because I believe that we all rise together and we rise by lifting each other up than tearing anyone down. So go out there and be the change, be the voice, speak up for someone who can speak up for themselves, because at the end of the day, we'll have to rise to greater heights together. It's so funny. When I was in the 8th grade, I was nicknamed Phoenix. I was nicknamed Phoenix after writing a composition using the idiomatic expression that says, I rose from the ashes like a phoenix bird, meaning I became successful again. Really, that English teacher, she didn't know that the nickname Phoenix, it resonates with me. And it also aligns with my destiny. So for those of you who don't know the phoenix is a Greek mythological bird believed to rise from its own ashes after being buried like hundreds of years ago. This immortal creature acquires new life by rising from the ashes of its own ancestor, which represents our capacity for vision and success. So I want to encourage you, if you're watching and listening under my voice, that when your world comes crashing down, wear your scars to show how a phoenix feels like to die from inside, and trust in your own capability to rise from your own ashes. Since the phoenix bird has to die, experience pain before resurrection from its own ashes. Please write this down in conclusion. Resilience to greatness. Resilience to greatness. And I know you've heard this before, that your setback is your setup for your comeback. Your setback is your setup for your comeback. So if I can be honest with you, I don't know what goals you've set for the next 6 months. I don't know what dreams you have for your own future, but here is one thing I know about you. You are destined for greatness. Inside of you, God has put seeds of excellence. Those seeds are supposed to grow and flourish. But many people have become crippled by their past encounters, and some have stepped over other people to get to the top. But I believe that we're all destined for greatness. With God, we're all destined for greatness as long as we follow his strategy. This is when the growth commences, because discovering your gifts and following God's idea, it will make you understand that you have everything around you to reach to your full potential. My everyday inspiration, Mr. Les Brown, he once said, if you had to die today, at this very moment, at this hour, what dreams, what ideas, what visions, what goals, what skills, what talents, and what books will die with you? And the late Dr. Miles Monroe continued saying that the richest place on this planet is the cemetery, because that's where all the goals, all the visions, all the skills, all the talents have been buried. Honestly, I don't know about you, but with me listening to all these amazing messages, it just gave me sleepless nights. And that was when I began to start journaling. I began to write my first book, Now 10. And I just told myself that it's high time I just follow my dreams, which gave me a purpose to see my goals through and understand that I do have everything. If I say everything, I have everything around me to reach to my full potential. So this year, I am also determined to rise to greater heights with as many motivated individuals as I can. So those individuals, they'll have to be ready to start and scale their businesses within 90 days. So I offer a free, no obligation, 30-minute friendly Zoom consultation call, because it will allow me to understand more about the issues that you are experiencing in your life, and then we can discuss about any questions or any concerns at all. So if you're a public speaker, if you're an author, you're a coach, you're an entrepreneur who wants to multiply your income by just doing what you love, and making a real impact out there. So go out there on my website, www.risetogreaterheights.com. Because I want to empower you to become a highly effective and an inspiring leader with a kind of personalized, measurable, but a scalable program. So go out there, and yes, it comes with a guarantee. I know many coaches out there, they will promise you this and that, but they will fail to fulfill it. So mine, it comes with a guarantee. I will definitely show you the smart way to kind of elevate your brand and give you the keys to unlock freedom to live a balanced life. Because at the end of the day, we need a balanced life. Perhaps maybe you are just that individual who want to write and publish your book within 90 days. Trust me, it's a guarantee I can make that happen for you. So go out there and reach out to me, because my ultimate goal is for you to feel extremely confident about your purpose. With me, you are just going to gain clarity and learn about your mind and take action to create your own unique transformation. So we will take it one step at a time, and you are going to transform. You are definitely going to transform. So this consultation, it offers accountability, education, growth, as well as success. I can help you to do whatsoever you put your mindset in, because it was me 5 years ago. I remember myself, I was kind of lost in the hustle. I was exhausted, I was overwhelmed. I remember I had a ton of ideas, but there was no tried and true strategy to run with it. So it was only when I invested in coaching and created my first premium offer, and that was when I started seeing things changing around my business. And then I built an income generating business, doing what I really love in life, and making a real impact out there. So now it's your turn to build that wealth. It's your turn to build your worth, because the power is inside of you. So if your current business doesn't generate enough sales, perhaps you want to start or scale your business, maybe you're lacking direction, it means that it's high time for you to book that consultation call with me. Just give yourself a second chance, please. Just give yourself that second chance, because I am a results-driven coach. So I'm going to teach you strategies and techniques on how you can actually overcome your weakness, face your fears, and successfully move forward. So book that call right now. But before you book that call, I just want to tell you that I only work with individuals who are just ready to elevate their brands, who are ready to skyrocket their income and unlock our freedom life, to live a balanced life. So if it's not you, please, no problem. That's not a problem at all. Just don't sign up. Don't sign up, because I only work with only go-getters who really wants to elevate their brand, skyrocket their income. Because growing up, I didn't have much in life, because my father decided to have an early departure from this planet Earth. And I thank God that I missed that flight, because I'm still here. I'm still sharing my message. I'm still impacting lives out there, because I had everything because of my mama's love. And I love you so much, Mom. So I think whosoever said that the sky is the limit was wrong. From today on, I, Dr. Rial Nkunene, believe that the sky is our point of view. So let's all rise to greater heights. Thank you so much, amazing speakers. So at this moment, I understand that Sierra, she kind of joined us along the way. Sierra, if you can please unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and share your message with us. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sierra Birch. Sorry I jumped on late. I have children. I'm actually pregnant with my third right now, and my son is downstairs. He's a little bit sick, and I just wanted to apologize because I realized I think I got a little bit sick too. But anyways, so I wanted to just kind of come on here and kind of just share a little bit of my story as much as I can. So I feel like for me, where it started is the way I grew up. My mom was a single mom to me and my sister. She left my dad when I was about 2 due to drug addiction. And so growing up was very hard with just me, my mom, and my sister. And I feel like a lot of the time, and my sister, but I'm just going to say me because this is my experience. My sister had her own experience. I feel like a lot of the time we didn't get like the attention that we needed. Like my mom definitely loved us, but she also had an alcohol addiction, and she had a hard time being a single mom. And that definitely bled into our childhood. We were very poor. We didn't have a lot. And I remember my mom didn't get up in the morning with us to, like she did until we were like, I think it was like 7 years old was when I started getting up in the morning and, you know, making my own lunch. I was doing my own laundry at that point, doing the dishes, because if I didn't do all that stuff, it would just not get done. And I would walk to school with my friend and like go over there, and her parents would be doing all the things. And so I did a lot on my own. I grew up fast because of this. I grew up really fast. And also not just that, but my mom, because she didn't really have anybody else, and her and my sister, they had a very rocky relationship. Like they were always fighting. And I found that she put a lot of her emotional distress onto me. And instead of being like her daughter, she looked at me more as like her friend, that she could unpack her baggage onto me. So I feel like that affected me a lot as well as I grew up and got older. I moved out very young at 15 was the first time I moved out, and lived with my first boyfriend for 3 years. And then I ended up going back to my mom's, but I left again. And then I got pregnant with my first daughter at 17. And definitely was not the way that I wanted my life to go. I don't regret it now at all because I absolutely love my daughter. But so yeah, I moved out really young. I got my first real place at 17. I was raising my daughter on my own. I had left her dad a month before I had her. And actually, I wanted to speak on that a little because you were talking about narcissists. And I just recently, within the past, 2 or 3 years, found out that my daughter's father is a narcissist. And back then I didn't know, but now I feel like when I left him, I just had this like gut feeling to leave, to not stay with him and not pursue the relationship further. And like at the time it was because he wasn't being very supportive with the pregnancy and stuff. He wasn't like being there for me. And I just wasn't in love with him anymore. And I was 18 years old. I had turned 18 and I just didn't feel it anymore. And I ended the relationship. So then that made things very hard, because I don't know if you know, but when narcissists like get turned down or rejected, they will repel that on you, and they will make it seem like it's your fault or whatever. So for a long time, I dealt with the repercussions of leaving him. And yeah, it was a lot of back and forth of course, trying to figure out ways to, work with co-parenting of having our daughter separately. And so I dealt with that for a long time. And then when my daughter was 2 years old, I got pregnant with my son. And his biological father is also not a good person. And I was only with him for a couple months. And when I found out I was pregnant in his presence, I told him I didn't want to be with him. He told me I should get an abortion, or I should find a man to take care of me and my children, because I'll never be able to do it on my own. I told him, okay, you don't know me. So anyways, that ended, and I had my son in 2017, and he was beautiful, perfect. And so this is kind of where I want to tell more of my part of the story, because I met a year after I had my son, and this is like, for me, and clearly you can see that before, I have already had like narcissistic and abusive people in my life. My mom being one of them, my daughter's father being one of them, and just a lot of people, unfortunately. And I think this is because of how I grew up, because I wasn't getting like the love and the attention I needed. So I was basically anybody who,
Sierra, are you there? Oh, yeah. I think, yeah, I think she had okay, she's back. We lost the connection. There you go.
Sorry, my internet's not the best right now, so it might have just cut out on you. Okay. But okay, where was I? Yeah, so because I grew up not getting the love and attention I needed, I felt that anybody who would give me like attention, I ended up being with or whatever. So anyways, my son was a year old when I met, and I call this person my abuser, because it was the most abuse I've ever been in my life when it comes to being with a partner. And I was lonely after I had my son. I felt like something was missing. I was a single mom of 2 at that point. And I met this guy online. And so I didn't know what love bombing was either at the time, and now I do. So I met him online, and we started talking, and like, he lived in Alberta at the time, and I was on the island. And we talked for like a month before he decided he was going to move out here. And the original plan was just supposed to be he was going to move here and we were going to see if we clicked in person. And I was like, I was okay with that, because at the time I had moved out from, I was living with a roommate before I had my son, and that also was toxic, and another narcissist who was in my life, and he was just my roommate. We were never together, but I had to get out of there when I was pregnant with my son, and I did. I found a way to get out of there. I found a place in my little hometown where like my family and friends were, and so I had this place that was great for me and my kids. And like, I was doing the vegan thing, and I was just like, I was thriving really before I met this man. So I don't know, like I said, I was lonely, I guess, and I thought something was missing. But he ended up moving out here. Well, he was supposed to just come and visit, but then all of a sudden he was here, and he decided, okay, I'm moving here, because he had family who lived in a town about an hour away. And so he ended up like staying out there, and he would come visit me. And actually, also, this is when substance abuse kind of started for me, because I started experimenting with him with things that I hadn't normally done. And then we ended up actually moving in with him. So I think we were only dating for like 2 months. And I moved in with him to this town that was an hour away from like my hometown. And I brought my kids and everything, because he had actually got me evicted from my current place, from leaving paraphernalia out, and my landlord saw it. So I move out there. And this is the thing about love bombing. And I want to say this for anybody who's watching and who may like be in this situation or have had it happen to them. The first little while, everything will seem like it's perfect. And there might be little slip ups and things here and there, but you'll probably just kind of push it off as like, oh, no, that nothing's wrong, because you love them, right? Or you think you love them. And that's kind of what happened to me for the first couple months. Like, I had never been happier. I thought that I had met my soulmate and the love of my life, and I couldn't be more wrong. So, because as soon as we moved into this house that was on the highway, and he was the only one who could drive my car at the time, because I had a friend who drove it before me, and she kind of wrecked like the clutch or whatever, so I couldn't drive it, but he could. So he was the only one who could drive my vehicle, and we were on a highway in this house. And so it was very isolating. And I still remember the first day we moved in, he was calling me names. So he was calling me like an idiot and just like all these horrible names, because actually I don't even remember to this day. It was something to do with moving. And that was the first time that I kind of felt like, oh, okay, like, I don't know why you're being mean to me. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. And that was the first time I mean, at the time I didn't clue in that something was wrong. I just thought, maybe he's having a bad day or whatever. So anyways, I lived in that house with him for 8 months with me and my children. A lot happened. I found myself that I had fell into a drug addiction. And it was bad. And I can say that I'm actually very lucky I didn't lose my children, or at least my son, because it was like we would do this bad stuff on the weekends, and my son would be there a lot of the time, sleeping in his room. And so it was eventually it just kind of added up. Like my family, my mom knew I wasn't happy, but I would just tell her. And I remember one of you saying too that like we are very good at masking when things are going on, women. And I was like that. I was very good at masking it. I would just tell my family like, no, everything's fine. Like, I'm happy. And there wasn't really much they could do about it. My stepdad actually liked him and didn't really realize anything was wrong. So I think it was about 6 months in when I started to realize that something was off, because for the most part, it was a lot of like mental and emotional abuse of like not feeling good enough, not feeling good enough for him. He would go and leave in the middle of the night, and I'd wake up and call him and be like, where are you? And he would get mad at me and say like I was in the wrong for calling him. And also he would just leave to like go see the strippers or whatever. And he would compare me to them. He would compare me to other women. He would compare me to his stepsisters, which I found very strange. There was just a lot going on. But the thing that made me realize that something was really wrong was he started physically abusing me, but not in the way that, me or anything, but he would bite me. So he would bite me on my thighs and things like that. And I remember going on to Google and just kind of looking up what is abuse, because I was like, this doesn't seem right to me. So I was looking it up and all the things were ticking. And I was like, okay, this just seems really wrong. Also, not to mention himself and my ex, so my daughter's father, they actually ganged.
Oh, wow, wow, wow.
I actually have to say that at this stage, this is like my story, but in different colors. And it comes in so many different colors. And I just want to reach out to her and give her a big hug.
That's what I suggest,
It's, Sierra was just saying, this is like my story, but in different colors. And I so hear you about everything you say, because every single thing, well, not your early childhood, mine was different and so on, but the abuse and everything like that. I want to go over there and give you a big hug. I actually found, and I find after my speech, after I was saying, and you probably feel exactly the same, my tears were here, because it is not an easy thing to talk about it. And I'm very good in boxing it up and putting over there. I actually have, I have like a little entry elevator speech ready about my domestic and emotional abuse or something like this, which has absolutely no emotions or anything like this attached, not like I was telling earlier and so on. So yeah, my heart goes out to you. You're brilliant.
Wow. No, thank you so much, Sierra, for just sharing your story. You know, it's a little bit emotional because it's a recent thing that you've just went through, but I believe like our audience, they will get the courage from you speaking up. And I know usually it's the hardest thing to actually exit an abusive relationship safely.
Can I just wrap it up really quick? I know my internet keeps cutting in and out. I'll just basically say I did leave after like 2 months after I realized something was wrong, and he had bit my son as well, and I left. I actually got him to drive me back to town. I was homeless for 6 months with my son, and that was very hard, hopping from place to place with my son. But I just want to say, and this is me wrapping it up, that you can get out. And that it will be hard. It will be very hard in the beginning, because like for me, my whole world crashed down.
I'm on the camera, Beta. I'm on the camera.
Yeah. So your whole world crashes down, and it's so hard. And you almost think you're not going to survive when you leave, but it does get better. It does. I'm now in a stable place, and I've been with my man for the past 4 years. He's a good guy. He took on the role of being a dad to my son and a stepdad to my daughter. And so and I'm pregnant with my third now. So things get better. That's all I wanted to say is like, don't give up. Don't think that you could never leave, because you can. Like, I know some people need a plan to leave. I was lucky that he actually drove me back to my hometown. But I know that not everybody's as lucky, and that some people might need a plan, but just know that even though it will be hard at first, you will get through it.
Yeah.
And that's my message. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Sierra. You can actually leave, but to leave an abusive relationship, you'll have to also create a safety plan. I've seen many being killed trying to leave, more especially if you've been involved with a narcissist in your life. He will try by all means that it's either I don't lose you or you die. That's the way they just control. all situations. So I know that ending a significant relationship, it's never easy. It's even harder when you've been isolated from your family, you've been isolated from your friends, you've been psychologically beaten down, financially controlled, and physically threatened. So it's really hard. In fact, the likelihood of that person being seriously injured or even killed while trying to live, it just increases day by day. So you really need to carefully plan how you're gonna leave that relationship.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to say too, of my experience is different, and I do realize that a lot of people need to make that actual plan to leave. And so I would never tell somebody if it was to the point of they were thinking they were going to be harmed to, ask your abusive partner to help you leave. Because a lot of the time it's not like that. A lot of the time it's you have to make a plan, leave, make sure that they can't find you and all that kind of stuff. I was lucky in that way. I did get the threats from him that he did tell me that if the next person I was with, they better watch their back and things like that. But I was lucky that those were just empty threats. I do realize that that's not how it goes for everybody. So.
Right. Yeah, just in the interest of time, we were really going to cover how to actually create that safety plan, but I believe we're going to cover that in our next in our next meeting, so that individuals should know. And abuse is a cycle. We're going to kind of cover all the cycles that you kind of go through, as well as creating that safety plan to live. And what you can do while you're still planning, because you'll have to plan it to actually do the action to leave that relationship. So how can you protect yourself around the house while you're still still planning it? Because it's really dangerous to leave an abusive relationship. I've buried quite a few friends, neighbors. I've witnessed neighbors actually going through domestic violence. Even at work, you will recognize that individual who will not be able to share their story because they are afraid. They are scared of being labeled with, oh, this and that and that. So that's the reason why we created such a platform where everyone can be just comfortable sharing their story and encourage each other and heal together. Because I believe that we just need one another. So thank you so much, Sierra. We can go on and on. I know we're just beyond the allocated time, but thank you so much, amazing speakers. Thank you so much for sharing your stories, for being the change that we really want to see in this world, by first being the voice that we need. Because I believe that we are all the voices for the voiceless in this platform. So thank you so much for your messages, for your stories, for your inspiration, your motivation. I believe our audience have been really inspired to take the first step, the right baby step in the right direction. It will lead them in their destination. So thank you, amazing speakers. So
thank you for having me.
Thank you, Sierra. So to our amazing audience online, thank you so much for joining us here at Rise to Greater Heights Network, where you can turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. I hope from these amazing messages, from these personal stories from all these amazing speakers, you've been inspired, you've been motivated, and you are ready to rise to greater heights. So do join us next week at the same time, same place. Thank you. Merci. Siyabonga.
Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him sing. All they wanna say. Let him lay me traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him sing. All they wanna say. Let him lay me traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let I be me instead of playing games. For chasing fame, let somebody sweat the lack of flames. No, living my life to the fullest and shout out my halala to the fullest. Let my lungs out. I'm still rising up to greater heights as long as